Hey folks, Raph from Defang here, and today I'm going to show you the fastest, easiest way to get a Django app up and running in the cloud. I wanted to try Windsurf, so I just kind of told it to create a Django app that runs in Docker Compose. So it actually did a pretty good job, but we do need to make a few tweaks. And basically, what I built today is this chat app with real-time auto moderation. There's a background process that runs in a worker environment that will monitor each message as it comes in and use the natural language toolkit to process the messages, do a sentiment analysis, and check if there's any profanity, and automatically moderate any messages. But another use case is maybe you want an AI to respond to messages. You could do a wide variety of processing on the messages that you want offloaded to separate containers. So this is the web app. This is the worker app. We've got a database using Postgres. We've got this Defang Postgres extension, which tells Defang when you're ready to deploy to your own cloud environment to provision a managed database. And then we've got the broker. So we're using Redis as a broker. And same sort of thing, we're doing Defang Redis to tell Defang provision a managed Redis instance. Let's get it up and running locally. Okay, so to get things up and running locally, we're going to do this. Docker Compose, we're going to use this environment file with these environment variable values that will replicate the experience in the cloud as well. We're going to use this compose.dev.yaml. You can see I've already run it before, so it gets up and running nice and fast. And if I head to my browser, localhost 8000, you'll see we have an app. And so we can set up a room, my chat room. It'll prompt you to register, user 1. No. Okay, my chat room. Sure. Cool. Hi, folks. So there it is. I can do the same in here. User 2. Hey, how are you? So we're using Django Channels, we're using Redis as a broker for that live interaction. We're also using Redis as a broker for our queue. So let's say I'm kind of a jerk to user 2. User 2, you are awful and nobody likes you. So you can see this gets flagged and automatically hidden. But the thing that's cool is you can see that that is running on a separate service. You can have long-running tasks, compute-intensive tasks that you can offload there and make sure that your main API stays nice and snappy. So yeah, basically that is what we are going to deploy today. So we've got a room model, and we've got a message model. It just has some content and the user who wrote the message, and then some moderation fields, which we automatically fill in using this task over here. So we're using NLTK to process these things. So we check for profanity, and then we do some sentiment analysis. So if we see profanity, we flagged it. And if we see that the polarity is lower than -1, so it's kind of a negative message, and the subjectivity is very high, so something very personal and negative, then that's what we're going to flag as a potentially negative or unfriendly message. And I think this is kind of a neat use case for this particular architecture, because you can imagine doing a lot of other stuff with NLTK or maybe some machine learning tools to sort of auto-moderate a chat room like this. And that might be more compute-intensive work that you don't want in your main API servers. So you want to offload that with a queue. And what's kind of neat here is because we're using Redis as this broker for WebSockets, for the real-time stuff with Django Channels, directly from this service, we can send this back to the browser without having to do any sort of polling or reloading of the web page. We just automatically get this as soon as the processing is complete. So, deploying this, if you wanted to deploy this to the cloud, you'd have to provision all of these different things in AWS or GCP or DigitalOcean. All of them support Redis and Postgres and allow you to run containers in different ways. But it's a fair bit of stuff to replicate. So if you're like me, you love using Docker Compose locally because it allows you to replicate that structure, right? And they all run sort of logically as these different services. But doing that in the cloud, provision ECS clusters, you've got to set up networking, security groups to make sure that you can connect properly to your RDS instance or whatever. All of these things become really complicated, and that is where Defang comes in. And this is what I think is magic. I mean, I'm a little biased, but basically pretty much most things should just work. So what we do, and I'll go into Playground here, is we'll do something like defang config set, and then Django secret key. And then you're going to get a secret key and put it in there. So Django secret key, I don't know, we can put in whatever we want here. I've actually already done this, so I'll leave that. But you would do the same for your Postgres password. So defang config set Postgres password, and then you can set those values. And once you've done this, Defang will automatically fill those in when you do defang compose up. So if I do that, you can see that it is basically doing the same thing that Docker Compose does, right? But instead of just running them locally, it's actually going to spin up containers in our Playground environment. And our Playground environment runs containers in our own cloud accounts, so you can see what it's like to get things up and running. But of course, the magic of Defang is that you can take this to your own cloud accounts. So if you have your own AWS account, your own GCP account, DigitalOcean, we've got different support for different features across different clouds, but we are working hard to get them to parity so that you can just take any Docker Compose file to any cloud and get things up and running. And if we head over here to the Defang portal, you can see these things happening. So that's portal.defang.io. And you can see as the services deploy, so you can go in and you can see the logs here. When everything is ready, these things will turn green. All right, look at all those lovely green circles. So let's check out our web instance. And what we've got here is a publicly accessible URL that we can click on. And I can add my test room, create room, register, user 1, test room. Cool. Hello, friends. What's up? Let's log in as user 2. And you're a bad person and nobody likes you. That's kind of mean. Right, there we go. Flagged as negative or unfriendly. You can see some details here. So that is our app deployed to the cloud pretty quickly. And if you've ever tried to set this up yourself, you know that setting up networking so that you can point to each of your services the same way that you can in Docker Compose is a huge pain. It all just is ready to go, which I think is pretty sweet. But let's take it one step further. Let's say you want to deploy this to your own AWS account. So what we're going to do, I'm logged into an AWS account, but I'm going to do export Defang provider equals AWS. And I already have an AWS profile. So export AWS profile, but oops, not, well, profile written properly. So I already have that set up to deploy to an AWS account that I've got. And I'm going to do defang config ls. So you can see here it's saying using AWS provider from environment variable. That's because we did that defang provider environment variable. So you can see I've already set these values. And similar to Playground, I can just do defang compose app. And it is going to deploy this stuff to my AWS account. And all of this will run in my AWS account. So it'll upload all of the necessary files and it'll run container builds as if you're doing Docker compose build or Docker compose up -- build. All of that just runs in your account. It doesn't rely on Defang infrastructure. So it's all nicely self-contained and it all just works. Okay, so I paused and let this get through a couple health checks, but you can see here, eventually what happens is once these services are marked as healthy, then Defang's CLI will disconnect and you will see these messages which tell you that everything is completed and will give you the address for your app. So if I go here, test room, create room, user 1. Whoops, nope, gotta register first. Alrighty. Hey folks, you're really awful. Your face is bad. I don't like you. So there we go. That is up and running in our own cloud infrastructure. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I think it's the easiest way to get Django up and running in your own cloud. So hopefully you give it a shot. Let us know how it works for you. All of the code will be published on GitHub. I will link that in the description or wherever, somewhere. We'll make sure that you can find all of the code. Thanks, and I will see you in the next one. See you, folks.